After 2 months of alphas, Update 76 for hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades is now complete. Whether you missed the alphas or just need a refresher, let's go over all the toys and features this update is packed with. Firearm muzzle devices have a new category, universal muzzle brakes. These decrease muzzle rise and linear recoil at the cost of more prominent visual effects and more perceptible sound for SOSIG agents in H3's combat modes. The set of 8 brakes we've added expand the aesthetic customization options available for kitting out your favorite platform and add difficult equipment decisions on how best to tackle modes like take and hold. Underbarrel firearms, one of our longest requested features, have finally made an appearance. We've got M203 and GP25 grenade launcher variants with bespoke versions built to connect to their realistic mounts, and Picatinny versions to connect them to, well, things you probably shouldn't. We've also added the house key and the spare key for an extra round of 12 gauge that critical moment. For those who wish to bring both a knife and a gun to their knife fight, H3 now has bayonets. These come in 3 categories: bespoke, where a bayonet's built with a single or small set of rifles in mind; integrated, like the classic SKS's one that can flip right out; and universal muzzle attach, like the Lee Enfield and Mosin's, which allow you to attach a bayonet to, well, things you really shouldn't. For the World War II aficionados, we've finally gotten back around to giving you some bespoke scopes for those classic bolt actions. While we were at it, we added a few new variants for Mosin Nagant and Lee Enfield, rounded out by its quiet cousin, the Delisle. Speaking of sound, handling audio has also been expanded with new sounds for object grabs, transfers, dropping into quick belt slots. Also, after everyone enjoyed the wibbly bits on our Meat Fortress guns, we went back and added physics jointed sling rings to every gun in the game that has them. Yup, that took as long as you might think. And finally, with Update 76, we've re-engineered how asset loading works. While that might not sound that exciting, this should result in shorter and more reliable preloads, letting you get in game faster, and making sure our core systems are set up to expand into the future. So if you're new to H3, been helping out with our alpha, or jumping back in after a break, we hope this update is a 76 you can feel good about. Remember, if you're ever stuck or need help getting started, we've got a Steam forum, a subreddit, a Discord, and a wonderful community waiting to welcome you. From all of us at Rust Limited, peace. Greetings! Welcome to the devlog for Update 76 of Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades. Finally finished. We probably don't need to do a sound check at this point, but let's fire one off for good luck. Wonderful. So other than that featurette, which I hope you all enjoyed as a sort of sum up of what we've gotten working over the past 2 months, I wanted to show you a couple other little quick changes that I made at the last minute as I was spending this past week, aggregating and bug fixing and things like that, and then talk about a couple balance changes outside of VR that I think should improve some things. So the big one is, and this is something that gets complained about a lot from those of you who play Take and Hold, which is these 3 shotgun shells here. What are we to do with these? The cannonball, the flare, and the Freedom Fetty. And so I have made some decisions in terms of changing these. I have not removed them from the random spawn pools, but I've attempted to give them a little bit more utility. The Freedom Fetty has the most sort of straightforward change, which is that in addition to our wonderful sound and confetti, it now is a slightly inaccurate, because of all that confetti in there, sort of half-power slug. So it is going to be effective at short range. At longer ranges, because of that projectile deviation, it's not going to give you the reliability of something like a slug, but it's no longer a super short range, completely dud round. It is just one that is a little bit still distracting and funny, but isn't going to be a run ender in Take and Hold, as it as at least as a whole bunch of you complain that it always is. Some other changes, I realized I had a few settings wrong on the cannonball round, in that it was actually firing off 3 projectiles, which was making it super deafening when it was nearby. But along the way, this round has basically been turned into almost like a flash grenade projectile. So in addition to getting that incredibly bright firework effect, it will actually blind as well. Having a firework go off next to you would do. So hopefully that should make that more fun to use if you end up getting forced to use it. And then lastly, the flare has actually been transformed into a useful flare. And so this has a couple effects. One, which is that if we're indoors, it's not going to actually be that bright, sort of thing, but actually looks a little bit more like a flare. Fired really close range, it will ignite a Sosig if it hits, but if we are outside in a dark scene, like Arizona at night, and happen to have our handy-dandy flare gun here for style, when we fire this off, it will actually behave significantly closer to what you would expect from a flare. And so not only is it pretty in a context like this, as Rotwieners gets its update later this month or early in October, especially in certain darker areas of it, the flare ends up actually having some utility by making things around it bright, and will end up attracting nearby enemies. So pretty. Wonderful. All right, well, that's the last of the visual demonstration changes. Let's jump out of VR and talk about the list of last-minute sort of bug fixes and tweaks and balance changes that are coming with today's update. Yo! So let's get right down to it. So the first one, which I'm sure many of you are curious about, is that all of our new items are properly integrated into Take and Hold. So they will now show up as categories for underbarrel launchers, for muzzle brakes, and for bayonets. Right now, the only ones of those that will spawn are the Picatinny attached versions of the underbarrels, and the universal version of the bayonets. And part of that has to do with the fact that I still have some more metadata stitching to do to actually, and I'll probably end up creating, at the suggestion of a community member, a sort of spawner that's about the bespoke items for a given platform, or work that into the spawning logic a little bit more. So until then, you won't necessarily get the unique bayonets for the various platforms in Take and Hold, but I need to make sure that's a harder design problem to solve than I thought, and I'm going to need a little more time on that. But the ammo, especially for those of you who play on limited ammo mode, the underbarrels, when they spawn, should now spawn with a single cartridge that's appropriate to them, and the ammo reloading terminal, when you click on the spawn single round button, will spawn a single round for each detected thing in its range. So if you pop down like a QC9 with an M203 attached to it, hit the single round button, it will spawn a single 9mm round for whatever that specific terminal has decided is its subtype, and a 40mm one. So that should allow those to be fully useful to you in limited ammo mode. And while just doing some testing, I ended up having an absolutely wild run where with a QC9 and M203 and a house key on the side, and just having the three ammo types available on a single platform like that, while taking a little more practice to use, was really, really fun to just have that variety right in one platform. So iron sight should now spawn in pairs from that spawner. Sorry it took me so long to get that in there. Cool. What else was, I went over the 12 gauges with you. Oh, some changes to the Meat Fortress Medigun that was just added. Basically, the damage resist on it has been nerfed because it was a little bit too high. But to help compensate for that, and I would eventually like to make this behavior a little more sophisticated, but for now, as soon as a bot gets healed by it, and as long as it's continuing to be healed, it both has its current suppression amount cleared and is immune to suppression. So you should have the situation, basically it will no longer happen where you latch on, start healing a bot in that scene, it takes some fire, and then it just stands there with the down arrow. It should continue trying to fight with maximum aggression, especially if you're following the classes that like to close distance. And I do have a fun idea for the near future for how to make the process of getting them into combat even more goofy and enjoyable. But we'll talk about that later. And then some last minute fixes. It fixed the Bodyguard 38 trigger, a few mesh instances, fixed the throwable pencils, which used to sort of like point like darts, broke somehow. But I fixed that, and I tweaked and fixed a few things in regards to take and hold scoring, primarily to close an exploit, where you could just like keep recycling a 1 credit object and continue to get points for that. That is no longer the case, and I might do a pass in the next week or so over those scoreboards and see if there's any up there that clearly shouldn't be. Anywho, that is about it. I hope this goes well. Very, very important, because this has happened a couple times over this alpha. Because the asset bundle structure has changed, and there's clearly something still a little unusual about the way that Steam handles build deltaing. Some of you will download this update, go to run the game, and it will just immediately crash, or it will fail to load. If this happens to you before posting on the bug reports forums and such, try a verify integrity of game files in right-click the game properties local files, just to make sure that Steam actually downloaded all of the changes because they were significant. If you run the game and it still doesn't work, uninstall and fully reinstall the game again, just in case, once again, because as I said, it seems that Steam's build deltaing system is failing in like for 1 in 1,000 users, and I do not understand why. If none of those things and a reboot fix things for you, of course, create a topic in the bug reports forum, and I will help troubleshoot with you. But honestly, the loading changes that come with this update should alleviate the most common issues that folks have with the game loading. So cross his fingers. Oh, this is held together with duct tape and hope. Anywho, I hope you enjoyed this update, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I'm gonna take, I think, a break for a week or two to recharge from all this. Although I'm sure I'll end up having to like hotfix 1 or 2 little stupid things that I inevitably forgot with this update. But beyond then, I'll still probably do a devlog next week. We'll see if I'm just feeling tired. If you don't see anything for me on Friday, just know that I'm sleeping and eating bacon. So, I wish you all well. Peace.